Stampscaping 101. Let's get right into this. We're going to do a scene very similar to the one I did yesterday, but I wanted to try it on gold, and just gold because it's a little bit more of a lighter hue in general. You can see when it's has the darker reflections here, it's quite a dark surface like this, as it's more like a mirror than anything. But I wanted to see kind of a real simple card using a quote stamp just directly into the foil as opposed to using a color, like white that I used yesterday. And I think this could be a very, very simple card. Okay, now we're going for coverage on this, but we're not going for absolute smooth total coverage over this, okay? Because we like the texturing of the surface when it's a little bit more varied, okay? All right, so what it's going to look like is, let's see if I can show you. It's really hard to photograph foils. Okay, so you see that right around there? That's roughly how I want the surrounding area there, okay? So, 100% cotton ball, okay? The synthetics just do not work for me. They don't absorb the moisture, or they don't accept the ink very well, for me at least. You can give it a try with whatever you have, if you happen to have some kind of synthetic. But they also don't transfer because they don't absorb, they don't transfer as much, which makes sense because, like, if you're looking at hiking gear or something like that, the natural fibers like a wool or cotton typically are a little bit better for like warmer weather, so that they retain moisture instead of wicking it. So if it has more moisture in it, it's going to transfer it a little bit better. Okay. I did try, and I tried several times with different types of inks, and the synthetics just, I don't know. It's more of a struggle for me, and I'm not into struggles when I'm stamping. Okay. It might give you a different look, though, in terms of I don't know the transfer, but I don't know. I get worn out in my arm from having to do that with so much repetition. Okay, so we're just, I don't know, like a minute and a half maybe into the application of this. So this is a pretty quick process right here. And I'm almost done. I'm using Brilliance inks because it will dry on here either via air drying or heat setting. Heat setting, it dries very quickly, okay? So this isn't like some kind of, like a VersaFine or something like that, which I love, like the Claire. But that type of regular pigment ink just isn't going to dry for me, even when heat setting. But if that's all you have, one of the things you can do this process like this, do the steps that I take, but take one extra step and maybe do some clear embossing of the pigment ink to get that drying done. It'll look a little bit different because you have that that embossing powder kind of melting and whatnot, and it will melt some of this pigment ink with it. But it could look really good though too. Just give it a try. I've seen it done before, and it looks great. It's probably not as crisp, I would say, in general, but you can get some benefits from it too. Maybe you can use you can do glitter embossing or something like that, and add an entirely additional, kind of like a shimmery type of surface to it. Okay, this is pretty much done. All right, so I give a pretty good coverage of it. I don't just go over it a little bit. I kind of build it up on there because the more that I have built up, the more that I can remove. Okay, so that's, can you see that? See, you can see it's pretty textured in there. But for the most part, if you look at it like that, it looks like it has some pretty good coverage. But then I have that surrounding area up there. One of the things you could do, too, if you want to go for some extra texture, is possibly you can kind of take a dry cotton ball and go around on the perimeter, and maybe you're removing some ink, I don't know. And that might be kind of interesting. Or it might be kind of smoothing out some of the applications of ink as well. Okay, let's see if that did anything. See, that kind of removed a little bit of ink like that, and look around the perimeter. See, that kind of looks a little bit more of a lighter, um, I don't know, application of that black ink. Okay, so let's go with, I just cleaned off my stamp here. It was having a little bit too much buildup, so I'm guessing that this should give me some really clean removals of ink. I tell you what, let me work around this quote stamp. Okay, the quote stamp has to be in full when you're doing a card or whatnot, right? You can't have like a, you know, some letters missing in text. So let me put this one down first. Okay, let's see. Am I? All right, I'll go in the corner, right about here. Okay. It's looking really quite dark, though. I thought black on gold, but that's not enough, is it? So, I think we're going to have to... I mean, I can kind of see it, but that's just... I think this one's... I don't know, it might be... The reverse into black might just be a... like a silver one. I don't know, I might be able to go gold. Maybe the gold Brilliance ink on here might look good. Let's try that. Okay, but here's the thing. You just go back in for this. And you ink that back up like so. Alright. Okay, now I'm not going to do this over again in gold ink right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do my reverse impressions on here and then heat set the whole thing. Because if I'm going to do a reverse, some gold ink impression over the top of this, this has to be dry. Otherwise, applying wet into wet, especially when you're talking about oil-based inks, it's just not going to transfer over wet into wet like that. Okay, so we gave that a try. That's what we have to do in experimenting. Okay, so where's this going to go? It's going to go right there, so I'll go a little bit low over here. Okay, but let's take a look at this. Okay. Alright, see that? Okay, now every time you do an impression, kind of get that ink off so that you can get a nice crisp removal of ink. Okay. It's interesting where it overlapped that first one. There's even more ink that's been removed. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I can go a little bit higher right here. Alright, so we have our gold impressions back there. This might have to be another kind of sandwiched impression type of thing, you know, using reverse impressions and then going into it with positive metallic pigment ink impressions over the top of it. In fact, I'm thinking that right now because that didn't remove off all of the ink, okay, which could be a negative, but we're going to use that as a positive, and we're going to make these background trees. Okay. All right, so let's heat set this. Foil paper that I'm working with. It's much better than the one I was working with yesterday. I love the color and I have no problem with the other one. The other one's like super inexpensive. This one's not too bad either. It's about $17. See, I accidentally put my finger right in there and it scratched that off. So that being said, what you'll want to do with this surface right here is you spray seal it after you're done to really seal in this this ink on here. I was telling people earlier that you know, you throw the finished piece inside a clear envelope, which a lot of you have anyway. But I've since spray sealed these, and they look great spray sealed. So, you know, I'm a spray sealer in terms of the foils and pigments now. All right, let me get that again here. The pigment ink's kind of dry, flat looking, okay? Now, one of the things why I touched that area was I was going to kind of counterbend this. Let me see, let me get into here. I'll get into there. I'll counterbend where I stamped the tree so I won't remove ink with my finger. All you have to do is kind of touch in it. It kind of comes off a little bit, especially, I don't know, I was touching it with my nails like that. Okay, so let's try this again here. Let's get with the Brilliance Galaxy Gold. And I didn't re-ink this because I wasn't planning on using it, but let me see if it's inked. Oh, yeah, it is. It's definitely inked up. In fact, I think I over-inked it the last time I was inking it up. It's kind of blobby on there. I was using it for my stamp board tiles. Oh, let me see. All right, my fast card has suddenly turned into not so fast. Let me see. Let me smooth some of that out. I have it kind of built up on there. Built up a little bit too much. Okay, so let's give this a try here. And this will kind of give me a pretty good indication of what the value, relative light and dark, of this ink will be over the top of that. So we'll see if it'll work with my over the top of these trees. You want this gold to be different enough where those background trees will, you know, have a little bit of distance between the impressions in this. Unless it just looks fine, which is with this quote on here. I don't think it'll. I think we'll need to do a little bit more, and we'll need to match up some things. Or kind of contain it with some additional gold. This color gold around here, okay? Now, let's see how it goes. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. I can see that quote stamp a lot better like that, okay? Yeah. All right. Now, I don't know if I'll go with another. That looks pretty good as is. In fact, let me see. Okay, I was going to go with this on here. I think I'll do that. But one of the other things I can do on here, I think I'll do some scratch work in here. And I can reveal some more of the just the gold of the paper. So again, you're taking advantage of, you know, there's certain things that, okay, I touch that and ink removes, right? If we don't do anything with that, you know, it's not that big of a, you know, a problem or weakness, you might say. But if I can remove some ink by scratching back into that, that ability now becomes a strength. Okay, so whenever you're doing things, you know, just kind of learn the properties of different things, and it might not work with certain techniques, but you can turn certain things that you can't do into certain things that you do have the ability of doing because of the properties of that, you know, aspect of, you know, the media and surface combination characteristics. Okay, so this is my leafless pine. Okay. looks pretty good. So here, look at that. It creates some pretty good depth there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I wonder if I should go with another one. I think I will go with the that kind of test there. I don't know, or I don't know. It wasn't really a test. I'm going for it right there. It's not going to be something that I'm going to remove, but that tells me, I think that, you know, a couple impressions with the, you know, additional layer of spruce will look good. Let's give it a try here. All right, so I have that. I'm just going to use the kind of the tip of that, or the front part. And I'll try to get this in between a couple of the pines. I don't want to stamp directly over, you know, a previous impression. So we'll get it a little bit off center from the previous impression. Okay, like that. Go a little bit lower over here. Okay. Come over here. And go in threes. How's that? Threes for the trees. How's that look? Okay. I think that looks, you know, pretty deep in terms of a, you know, spatial aspect of it. Okay, let's see. What time are we on? We're still at 16 minutes. That's with all my kind of tests here, too, and everything, right? Trial and error. Kind of figuring things out on the go. But let's see if I can do some different touches on here now, okay? With our scratch knife, okay? Now I'm going to try and, let me get, there's a spoon kind of shaped one. There's different scratch knives if you want to see any information on that. See my stamp board demonstrations, but okay, let's see here. Yeah, that kind of removes some of that ink, and I'm just kind of adding in a few little highlights. I don't know if you can see what's kind of happening on the video here. Let me see if I can show you that. It's pretty subtle, but do you see that right there? I'm just kind of going in and removing some of that ink off of my reverse impressions. Okay, I'm not taking ink off these ones that I just stamped in here, but where these ones are just, these gold trees are really dark in the background, right? But I'm just going in and putting a few little highlights by removing some of that residual ink that was left from the reverse impressions, okay? Yeah, it just gives it a little bit more tone. You know how I touched here and it removed ink? Well, I'm just doing that kind of much more purposefully with this little scratch knife in targeted areas on the branches. Mainly just kind of on the perimeter or on the top sides of some of those branches. Okay. So, we have a little, yeah, see that right there? You can really see it where it's mirrored like that, okay? That's where I've kind of gone back in and done those scratches like this, okay? You can kind of see it in a reflection. It's kind of hard to show on the camera right here, but... Okay, so that, I think, I don't know, I think that looks pretty cool. As far as a finished piece, I think it looks fine, but I think these applications and this type of combination of things, the layering, that's something that I'll utilize in future applications, you know, kind of testing things around. Okay, so I think this might look interesting with a little bit of additional texture. We have our bleed-proof white and my little toothbrush here. You just get a little bit in the tip right here. I have a separate video on splatter painting. You just enter Stampscapes splatter painting, and it'll come up with kind of my demonstration of this process right here. But essentially, you want to take off a lot of the media out of your toothbrush here, and you want this at a roughly kind of like a thick syrup. Okay, not like a fake syrup, but kind of a true, you know, whatever. Canadian maple or whatnot, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'll kind of go off the page a little bit. I'm covering up the quote because I don't want a bunch of splatters in there. It would look like a dotted I or something where it's not supposed to be dotted. And then you just kind of start splattering in like so. You're just kind of releasing a couple little hairs and then going back. You're not going zip, 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 zip. You know, you're kind of starting here and going like a couple little hairs at a time, then you go back again and do that. Okay. I mean, if I get a little bit into that quote, you want a little bit, but you just don't want too much. You can represent snow or stars or both. From a textural point of view, I think it complements the imagery really well. Kind of having just a little subtle texture in there. And it, plus, the white is also, it's playing around with value. It's something that's very light. I mean, but it can be very, very minuscule too. Okay. But it's still, nevertheless, it's a big contrast jump between the white and the gold, and the dark gold, and the black. Okay. I don't know. It just adds a little bit more of a rich kind of tapestry of different values and textures throughout the piece. Okay, so this is what that looks like. All right, now I am going to heat set this. I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'll heat set. But then this will look, I don't know, it looks really sloppy right now, but this is going to be perfect on like a little bit of a matte, and I think a Stardream gold matte, and then we'll mount it up on like a pre-folded card or whatnot. Okay, so like I said, I thought I'd let this air dry a little bit because those impressions in the the thick Galaxy Gold are fairly thick, and they'll dry fast, but I like to let it air dry a little bit. Okay, you know how one thing that occurred to me is how we have that gold all throughout here. I have my gold Artistro paint pen. Let's just put a couple gold stars up there as well. I don't think it would represent snow. I think it would represent a star more than anything. Okay. You have to really shake these up well. And this one I haven't even used before. Let's get this flowing. Yeah, almost there. Okay, there we go. You kind of just retract the spring in there. Get it flowing, and okay, I'll put a couple gold ones in here. That's kind of put a larger one here and there. All right, I'm not going to go crazy with that like I often do, which is really fun to do too. But you can see those little gold ones in there, huh? It kind of brings a little bit of continuity, having that gold in there as well. It's a fairly busy scene right now with all that texturing in there. Maybe I should have done a little bit less. But if you ever add too much, black or something, or stars or something like that, you just simply go back in. Okay. Or you can take a Q-tip or something like that, to get kind of a little bit more specific areas. And then just, add some more right over the white, okay? A little white splatter painting. it might kind of make them disappear, or it might make them just a little bit more, a little bit darker. Okay. And that looks pretty good. Okay. So, all right, let's take a look at this right here. I'm always kind of surprised at the amount of depth that we can get just with a couple different values of something right in the front. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry up a little bit. I'll heat set a little bit more, but I think I'm going to spray seal this as well, so we'll be able to see that. And then I'll get things matted up and formatted into a card, and we're going to be done here. Okay, we've got our surface dried off, and I have double mounted this, okay? So we have a little bit of a white around there, just a real thin one to match up the the weight of the white elements in here, just the real small stars and whatnot. And then I have a piece of the kind of iridescent Stardream gold here. You can see it has that nice shimmer to it, but it's not as mirrored. I thought the mirrored would look okay too around that. In fact, even triple, that would look really nice, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to format this into a card, and I just thought a nice elegant white would look good. Okay, so let's do that. This is a pre-folded card that I get from my local Kelly paper. I don't know. For me, it's just nice having some stuff just kind of pre-made. I don't have a lot of different colors of that, but I just go over there and pick those up occasionally. I like that pre-folded aspect of it. But that mirrored gold sure did look good as a triple matte or whatnot. I usually do that. Okay, so we have this right here, and this will fit roughly about like so. I didn't leave too much room because I like this Stardream on there quite a bit, so I put quite a bit of a border. And I just eyeball center this, okay. It's probably not perfect, but I'm not going to measure that off and take all the time to do that. Okay, so we have that going like so. Alright, looks pretty good. But one of the things I thought might be fun is to add a couple extra elements. Okay, so I have some glue here, and I used to go straight on here, but I'm finding that it's just kind of better to apply a little bit more carefully. I get kind of a big blob of glue going sometimes, so I put a little spot of it there, and let's see, a toothpick is perfect. I don't see my toothpick here anymore, so let's take another push pin here, and let's take a nice little dollop of that glue, and I'll just add it. Even this is really thick. Maybe I took too much of a dollop. It's a really thick glue, so okay, there we go there. And I'll add another one here. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of these. I kind of like to leave it a little bit more, somewhat, not random, but varied, so I'll put one down here. There's this thing inside us all, or most of us, I think, where everything has to be kind of perfectly kind of positioned, but I think it's a little bit better if it's a little bit more varied. Okay, there, and have another one right here. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see how that goes. I don't have to apply it all. I have my little trusty gem picker. I haven't used this for a couple weeks. I almost forgot the name of it. And we have our TechUnite gem pack here, chosen for no more reason than They're very inexpensive. They look pretty good in the photos, and you know, it's a rather large collection of them in different sizes. So I don't know, they work good for me. There's about 6 different sizes or so. Okay, so it's just something kind of twinkly and bright in these pieces. I always think kind of the kid in me, what would have been really cool to see on a card such as this. Okay, these ones are really tiny. This is where the gem picker really comes in handy. Just got to be careful that you don't pick up multiples like I did there, I think. Okay. All right, where's the other one? There we go, right there. And we have one more. All right, so about 6, 7, whatever you want. If you're doing a birthday present for a, kid, maybe put the number of stars up here for the number of years they have or whatever. Grandkids, and you can tell them, it was your 10th birthday, so I gave you 10 stars or whatever. All right, so let's take a look at those. Yeah, look at those little twinkly stars on there. Those twinkly stars like that, they're kind of silver. So see that kind of white light they're reflecting? It matches, this little white line around here. It also matches this, so you can see it kind of giving a little bit of different continuity. We have 3 different values of, or tones, I guess, maybe, of gold. We have this gold perimeter. We have this gold with the positive impressions, and we have this gold in the background with the reverse impressions. I guess you can call it, see that? You can really see where I've kind of scratched off some around there, off these ones too. See how much more mirrored that is? Where I've scratched off some. You can kind of see it in person a little bit easier, but yeah, you can kind of see that. It's kind of glistening up there. I don't know, you might call that a, what is that, a 1, 2, 3, 4th kind of tone of gold in here. So 3 golds, and then we have the stars up there. So it's like 5 different versions of gold, just variations all kind of in there. And I think they're all working in pretty good harmony with one another, but makes for a pretty nice little card here. And I don't know, it'd be kind of cool to, when you do some writing on here or something like that, you can do it in a gold pen. That would be kind of a nice little aspect of it. But all right, so anyways, fun with gold foil, and let me see, 2 different types of ink, so not too much in terms of your supply list here. I don't know, yeah, I have the different things like little gems here and stuff like that, but for the most part, a pretty simplistic card to do, and I think pretty effective. I don't know, we get a lot of use out of in some ways minimal types of techniques in terms of applications here. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined, and thanks as always for tuning into the Stampscapes channel.